Welcome to the HeartWork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sara.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in.
Oh my gosh, you guys. It has been 1 year since we released the HeartWork podcast.
Woo woo! Insane.
Wild. So I cannot believe it. I think back to us and this whole start and the dream and then the execution and then the actual follow through. And here we are a year later and some 56 episodes.
Mm-hmm. It's wild because, like you said, this wasn't just us recording when we released it too. So technically this year anniversary is a year and a half.
It's 18-month anniversary, honestly. But then not from the inception. That's
right.
That's a 2-year anniversary, honestly.
Totally. I mean, this has been something, I think that's the coolest part before we even get into some of the questions that we're going to go through and just talk through today is it really is something that was such an organic culmination and just journey, and wasn't something that we had to have figured out right away. And we just let it work and flow and navigate. We got to ask each other a lot of questions how we were going to do this prior to even starting to record. So it's been a beautiful little season for sure.
It really has. And obviously we're a year in, and we're going to just talk about some of the top episodes, downloads, reviews. But whenever you release something for a year, there's some bias. I feel like some of our older episodes have obviously been out the longest, and some of those early ones were the first 3 that we released. And so there was just so much excitement around all of it and so much promotion with it. But they were also some bomb ass episodes because we really poured what do we want those first 3 incredible episodes to be about. And I feel like that put a lot of, we spent 6 months curating those.
Literally. Literally.
So they better be good as shit.
Mm-hmm. The content was great. I feel like you and I have learned how to flow together way differently compared with when we first started.
Wait, that is a lesson. It really is, though, because it's not for nothing, though, Sara. Because we're long distance besties, and we do a lot more of this back then, our conversation was Marco Polo. It was a one-sided conversation at all times.
Truly.
There's an art to that too, because you have to keep a Rolodex of all the things that was discussed over a 15-minute time period, and then go back and be okay, so starting with part A, let's address and talk about that, and then just all the various topics we have. But obviously, being on here, we get to chat in real time, and so the literal art of the conversation, 1, but also 2, the art of the interview and recognizing that we're not just us in a conversation, but there are other people that are listening in. And so even just I remember Nolan, one of the first days, our producer, I like to give a lot of affirmation during a conversation. And so you would be talking and I'd say yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, 100%. And Nolan was stop talking, because I can't cut out every single breath of yours while Sara's talking because you're affirming her. Shit, you're right. But I do. I let people know that I'm still in it with you. I'm paying attention. I got you. And so that was an art. There is an art to podcasting. There's an art to the interview process. And we really, I feel are just miles ahead.
Totally. I'm so glad we're not starting anymore for that sake. Now we're so used to just nodding in the background without actually communicating. So we can actually still see each other. People on the screen can't, or in the ears can't see that, but it's hilarious.
Well, so tell us, I know you just ran these. What were some of our top episodes with downloads?
So fun. Like Marisa mentioned, our first like top 4 episodes were the top listened to. And again, I think that just goes to show, like, again, when people come into a podcast, I know that a lot of times I will go to like some of the first ones. Not always. Sometimes I'll pick and choose based off title or something like that. But I think it's really fun for like, because our first episode is literally from hot mess to heart yes, ditching the hustle for allowing your true sparkle to come. So I think that's amazing. That I just remember that episode and what we were talking about at that time was this like conversation around literally me buying a building at the same time, like this journey that is no longer existent. Doesn't mean it won't ever happen, but it's no longer there. Just wild. And then the number 2 is honor code. And this is something that you and I have really done within our own businesses and created just a culture. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, we believe culture is literally going to be the fine tuning fork for anything you do in your business. And so I love that one is the like second highest, which is amazing. And then a shout out to Stephanie Wigner. She is coming in number 3, which is amazing. So just a fun way to like celebrate one of our coaches who also has been such a huge mentor to us and even producing this podcast and putting it out into the world as well. So that is incredible. So she's there. And then we have, I'm just going to go to the next 2. So the next one is ebb and flow of entrepreneurship, because lessons of letting go. How many of us need to know how to freaking let go? So how fun that one is our top 4. And then top 3 is hell yes or hell no. Being able to navigate when something of a decision really truly is like a heart yes versus a hell no conversation. So, because sometimes it may not always be a hell yes, but you may know that it is an absolutely a hell no, right? Like, and you know that it may be that conversation that you need to get to have with yourself of like, what is the next step for you then at the same time? So
Totally.
so
So if you
fun.
haven't listened to those episodes, that's your invitation. They are some of the
Exactly.
hot popping off episodes that we have recorded. Definitely go back and listen. But we also had some super fun ones, especially as of late.
Agreed.
And so I can't wait to see like in another year, right? Because time is an added factor to these things as well. What that actually looks like in a year's time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously when we started, we had certain ideas or just rather objectives about like what we wanted this to be. I think we both walked into it knowing that we wanted to hold like very loosely and we didn't want to set any particular like expectations or needs from it. We also wanted to just I mean, the reason why we started recording before we even started releasing episodes was to see what our flow was. Like, do we
Yeah,
actually want to record every single week? Do we want to release an episode weekly? Is it something that gives us life? Is it something that takes away from our life? Like, are we actually wanting to follow through with what the idea was? And we both like ended up loving it
totally.
and have only continued to like just grow in excitement for it. And so there's definitely, though, like that rhythm between the ideal and the reality. And so let's talk about some of the objectives or maybe expectations that we did put out there into the universe and then what the fruit has come from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree with you. Like, I feel like when even the reason, the intention behind starting this, it was really kind of out of a place where it's like, we want this to be organic. We want this to feel very, very like easy almost. So it didn't take more from our life. And I think that's been really cool because it's allowed it to literally almost take off in a way to where obviously our clientele that obviously tends to be in the chiropractic profession and but also a lot of leaders and just entrepreneurs and teams and students and like all of that as well. So I think that's been really beautiful. And obviously, with anything you do, again, I think at the end of the day for me too, it's like the heart would be to at some time, have it be profitable and being able to pay for itself in a way. And but it also is like a through point. I think that's one of the things that I've learned is like it's so much of a through point for us, and it's a way for us to put content out there for us to be able to capture a little bit of an audience and also just to share our freaking gift to the world at the same time. Like, you just never know who's going to hear it or how it's going to land for somebody or it's meant to be for the person that's ears it lands to. Right. And so, and also at the end of the day, like, it facilitates, I think, so much of the conversations that we were already happening to allow it to be able to potentially move to a future conduit for something else. Like I think HeartWork at some point will just always be like the podcast itself is going to be just a hub and then there'll be offshoots moving forward at the same time. So depending on, and we'll get to that a little bit of like what we hopefully believe for year 2 and just putting out there as well. So because I do feel like there's rhythm to like wanting it to flourish and wanting it to go somewhere and have impact, and enrich people's lives. And also this balance between can it pay for itself and can it be a productive entity that way as well?
I think too, in the sense of like, we didn't really set a specific expectation to its ceiling because we were like, we want this to flow where it's meant to flow. And we didn't want to try and control where it could go that would not allow it to flow in the direction of where it really is being called to go versus where we
Yeah.
might be forcing it to. And I also believe that that's actually helped us hone in even more on like what our real desires and vision is for it as we walk into year 2. Because sometimes when you have a specific control, like, okay, we want this to be this many listeners and this many downloads by this much time, we need this resource and it needs to be making this much amount of money. Like you can sometimes prevent it from actually getting to where like the purpose was that we started this organically. So why
Mhm.
would we want to also continue it organically versus get ourselves into a position or a place that actually doesn't feel in alignment with why we started it in the first place? And I
Right.
think we had a little bit of that for a period of time. And really through our retreat, we learned like, okay, we actually have a specific desire. And now we actually, I think, have more heart intention behind action for the podcast compared to in the beginning of just kind of casting the net wide and
Yeah.
allowing it to just like see where it does grow. It's literally like we had like a whole garden, like a 10 by 10 garden. We threw a
Mhm.
bunch of seeds in it and we're like, okay, which of the seeds that are going to grow? And
Yeah.
obviously, the more you focus on a certain area and cultivate that, that can grow too. But we really did want to see where the organic shoot was and if that actually aligned with our hearts personally, because it's not just one of us doing this. Like, it's two different human beings with two
Mhm.
different lives and two different sets of obligations and responsibilities in those lives too. And we always wanted this to continue to add and enhance versus feel like we were being dragged from it. Because the other part of that too is that we have a very beautiful friendship. And so we didn't want something in business that was going to, alter or change any of that. Not that we're those types of humans that would allow that to happen, but at the same time, like partnerships can be tricky to navigate. And you want to make sure
Mhm.
that you are just hearing each other's voices and hearing each other's hearts and desires through it too. And so we've given this podcast a lot of space over this first year for that. And have experimented with some different avenues to see like what does truly stick with us both as a unit and what could offshoot as like us individually too. And so I think
Mhm.
that's been a really cool aspect of it.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's been a really neat thing. And I think that if you are ever thinking about getting into a podcast or even just in business with a partner, I think that was just a beautiful like moment that you just said. It's like making sure that you have really brilliant conversations before, during, and always. Like there's this a beautiful opportunity. And like if you can't talk to one another, it's like you're only gonna end up not enjoying the process because there's always, like there's life just happens at the end of the day. Like you need to be honest. And I think that's one of the things that you and I have also done very brilliantly is just being really honest and also being able to hear together at the same time, and allowing our hearts to hear that even as we're putting out content for the heart work, and so I think that's a beautiful facet. So if you are getting curious about it, obviously just make sure if you're in any type of partnership, just make sure you're having the beautiful, honest conversations. So, okay. So I want to ask the next question because I actually know that you have an answer to this. And I'm excited for people to share this. So, because you've talked about this, and like one of the interviews that we did was super impactful outside of just a one-on-one interview. So, were there any besides that one or any other ones, was there any other, like, turning point, like, specific episode that was like, "Wow, this was really, really cool, and I loved it. It was so free flowing," or it just was super impactful for you?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, I think one, our first interview with actually my sister Jules was really,
Mhm.
really fun. It was our first interview, and I think we just like loved it. We flowed really well. The conversation was really great. The content was really good. Like, I just learned more about my sister as not just a sister, but like as Juliana in her business world. And so that was really
Totally.
fun because she talked a lot about leadership and she literally helps run programs for other businesses to develop their leaders. And so I loved that. And then we did a lot of like you and I interviewing one other person. But when we
Mhm.
interviewed Dr. Andy and Dr. Kaylee, that was so much fun. It was our first interview with two other people. So there were
Mhm.
four of us on this call navigating conversation, right? Like not wanting to interrupt or interject and wanting to make sure to give space for people to like really flow. And we did that, I think, so well. And it was such a fun conversation. And it was also our interview with we had a male and a female on as an interview
Right.
too. So there was just this really beautiful rhythm and dynamic of them with their relationship, their business partnership, and then just us as a podcast. And so that was really fun. And then also I loved the last couple episodes that we recorded about the Achilles injury simply because it was one of we've had other episodes where we've been in real-time processing,
Mhm.
but it was real-time processing more so with business. Some of the, personal stuff that we were processing is a little bit removed of, years back, like our family episodes, some of that stuff. But this was, literally within 2 weeks, 1 week post-surgically, just navigating those feelings on a personal scale and on a business scale. And so it was just really fun to have that organic flow of conversation happen. And if you haven't listened to those episodes, I think you'll feel that difference kind of in the heart of the episode.
Mhm.
What
I
about you?
literally came I literally came up and told Nolan after we recorded that. I was like, "I think that was literally my favorite episode that we have ever recorded." Like, it was literally so impactful, I think, just for me as well. So whether it hits for anybody else, I think at the end of the day, I think that's the coolest part about this is, like, if it doesn't go for anybody else, it was really impactful for me. So
For us. I mean, I
yeah,
loved it.
for both
Yeah.
of us, absolutely. So by far, and which is so fun because it's just the most recent. I think that's just also a testament to, again, who we are as humans. Like, healing and evolution is literally a constant thing. You and I are not the same people that we were a year ago. Like, we're not the same people that we were 6 months ago. And so we're only gonna be able to evolve more and be able to be presently with ourselves more, and we're constantly healing. And so it was just really a cool perspective too, for me at least, and just like, man, look how far we've come. And also, God, that was just so freaking fun. So that probably is by far my favorite, two. And so I'm excited for that to continue to evolve and see what the response from that one is as well. I also thoroughly enjoyed our conversation with Andy and Kaylee. Again, because it was just I was so nervous going into it for the sake of how are we gonna have 4 people talk and this is gonna go forever? Like, at the same time, what's gonna happen? But it was such a rich conversation, and I just appreciated their vulnerability so much and their ability to be able to encourage, empower, and also just work off each other. It was just really, really beautiful. I also obviously geek out about this human as well. I really also loved Callan Faulkner's interview. I thought just who she is, I've really enjoyed who she is. I love her so much, and so it just was fun to be able to have her on the show and all that. All of our interviewees, are all brilliant. It's been so fun to have them on their show, and I so appreciate that take them taking time out of their schedules and being here with us as well. So it really is such a gift. Can't believe we get to do it. It's wild.
Me too. Me too. So I have been stopped a couple times by people in person to say "Oh, I listened to this episode. Have you been stopped? And what are some of the things that our listeners' feedbacks have helped to shape our direction, our gratitude, our impact, etc."
I think it's fun because my team actually has put a slide up on our TVs saying, "Hey, who do you know?" Or, sorry, my team has put a slide up on our TVs for our interactive with our patients, and they had asked. It's a trivia question, who of all of us in this office has a podcast, and do you know who it is? And then the next slide is us, and so they tag it on there. So it's been really fun to see patients interact with it, which is really neat. And I actually had a patient of mine that was just really struggling with more, honestly, just more life, not necessarily even business in general. And I pointed her to a couple episodes, and she was just so grateful. She was like, "This just lit up my life and lit up my heart so much." And I think it was just cool because it also is a way for us to give a resource, and also at the same time, people can do with it what they want. At the same time, hopefully, maybe again, it enriches them and does something in their life. I also am just really grateful, and I know this is for you too. It's I've had so many family, close friends, people in my life that are just huge advocates of it and listen to it, and then they'll message me and just say hey, this one was so freaking good. You guys did such a good job on it, And so I think that part doesn't necessarily mean we need the validation, but it is always a beautiful thing. And the people that share our stuff online, it does mean a lot, it really does. It lets us know that you guys are listening. It lets us know that you care. It lets us know that it's touching you, and for anybody that's putting content out in the world, I know that I already am enough regardless of this podcast. And at the same time, it really is a beautiful gift. So if I know I do that for content, if I'm consuming content, I try to be able to share it if it impacted me at the same time. So as a little invitation at the same time, if you have listened to something and you love it so much, I would really invite you to share it because it does help us. It helps us be able to reach a community as well and share what we are trying to put out into the world as well.
Well, that's what I mean. If it touched you, who knows, who else in your community it might touch and who needs to hear it at the precise time. I think for me, sometimes one of my woundings is more external validation for sure and people pleasing and wanting to be liked. So whenever you put anything out there, you do wonder if it hits. Did I say it right? Was it good? Was it okay? Is it too much? Is it too aggressive? Is it too soft? You just wonder how it's going to land. And I love getting the feedback from people. And I love we have a couple patients that we'll regularly listen to and we'll share. And it's fun being able to point people to episodes or even what we do a lot with students. You and I both help to pour into the next generation of chiropractic students and whatever we're talking about or whatever they're sharing. If we have an episode that relates to it, I always put it up there hey, if you want more resource or if you enjoyed the way that we presented something, here's another avenue to stay connected to us. And that's been really fun. As well as just people, we go to a lot of conferences, right? And so you continuously meet new people, but you also get to see some of your familiar faces. And it's always the episodes that I'm wonder how that one's gonna land. And someone was oh my gosh, I just listened to XYZ episode and that just really related to blah 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 in my life. And it's always just so cool that the moment you put out there was it? And the universe is just no, let me show you.
Yeah.
Keep going because what you are talking about, what you're sharing makes an impact. But I also think on the flip that because it's what we're sharing about and the topics that are so sometimes deep and vulnerable and raw, that people don't share about it as often.
Yeah.
Because it hits on a heartstring that tugs, but we're not quite ready to share that is a tugged, tense heartstring yet. And so for all those out there that are listening and are hearing it and are just being pulled on, I just know that we're here with you and you can always private DM us and share. We're here to listen. We're here to support. Obviously, this is just as healing for us as we hope that it lands and that you get to experience it. And if it did touch, you don't have to give us all the details, but we would love to just know because too, we want to put content out there that matters to you as well. Obviously we can continue to share about our stories, but if you're going through something, that was also a fun episode, our little Q&A that we put a poll out there for and then answered questions for.
Yep.
Again, it's just flying off the seat of your pants. And we do most of our episodes like that. We really don't prep a lot, I feel anymore, which is hilarious because in the beginning we're okay, we're going to talk about this. And this is the things that we want to touch on. And let's talk about this. And these are the things that we're touching on. And now I feel we're just you want to talk about X? And it's cool, great. Okay, let's flow. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Again, testament to how we have evolved.
Oh, 100%.
Incredible. I think that's the most, at the end of the day, I think that's what podcasts are, right? So doesn't mean we don't have content that we want to put out, but at the same time that we can still flow with what is meaningful to us in that moment. And it's typically at that point, if it relates to us, it's probably going to relate to somebody else, so.
Totally. And also too, not for nothing, but for the future, if we want to put things out there and also, it does cost money to produce a podcast. If we want to put things out there and continue to provide resource for people, we want to know what you actually are wanting and looking for so that that's something that we can cultivate for you.
Yeah, totally. All right. So you kind of alluded to it a little bit. So I'm actually curious if you have anything else that you would add to this. So one of the questions that people have asked us just in the side of the amount of time, what are the things that people don't see behind a podcast? And if you would get curious about even starting one. So, like, what are some of the, like, internal resistance? Maybe the quiet nights of, like you were said, like, the external validation for you, yourself, like, maybe some of the sacrifices. I know that we have some financial expense that goes into this at the same time, that I think people know that that's maybe gonna happen, but at the same time, like, it just kinda depends on what you're wanting to put out there. And I know if you and I chose to have somebody like my husband, Nolan, edit the podcast from the get-go because we didn't wanna put our time and energy into editing a podcast because that just would not suffice, and that does not sound fun at all. And
Not
so
at all.
we were both like, "No, we gotta outsource this, but this is gonna cost us money to do this," right? And so, um and also potentially some of the emotions that come along with it. So the, like, quiet behind the scenes, like, potential cost or sacrifice that you've had to navigate, what would those be for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, the biggest one is definitely time, right? Like, we set aside time on specific days, and if we have a queue of episodes up, great, but sometimes we have to, like, just record and put something out there because we don't have anything ready and roaring to go for next week, and, um, obviously, like, equipment and space and, like, this background I is, like, my personal get ready station, and so I had to make
Mhm.
it, like, kind of nice and tuck things away in a cabinet and stuff like that, and on the flip side too, like, we do talk personal stuff, and we've talked about family, and we've
Yeah.
talked about life in general, we've talked about our husbands, like, so even just on the flip side of navigating the response of people hearing what we're saying. And, like, yes, it's our stories and our perspectives, but it does also involve other people's lives sometimes. And
Mhm.
so, whether that be team, whether that be, like, I mean, that spans so much. And so, it's not like we ever really ask permission to share our perspective or like our receiving of some kind of situation. But again, like that comes with it being your perspective. And so, I've just had to navigate a couple times where, even my family was like, "Whoa, okay, you went there. Okay. A little heads up next time will be great because I didn't expect to open that email today." And I was like, "Yeah, probably. Okay, you're right." And so just, on that side, because uh, I mean, the purpose of this is to process what's going on in our lives, but our lives aren't just self-centered. Our lives involve other people, and so I think that's probably been one of the unsaid costs for me, and, like, my family is super supportive of it, and they want me to put that stuff out there, but it's the same thing, like, if you and I were gonna be talked about on someone else's podcast and we didn't know about it, like, someone could be out there right now sharing about some way that we either impacted them or participated in some I mean, you just,
Mhm.
that's the story in their life, so there's obviously that, and then if social media is, like, way more taxing than I think either one of us thought it would be. Just, like, the presence of, like, having to show up every day, and
Yeah.
obviously, when you're passionate about something, it flows, but I think you and I have both learned that, like, our passion flows not on a 24-hour clock,
Yep.
and sometimes we're, like, on there, and we're like, "I'm gonna post this," and then 3 hours later, I'm posting that thing, and then 4 hours later, I got that because 'cause I'm just so ready to, like, chat about all this, and sometimes it's like, what do I wanna do? And
Mhm.
yes, for all of you out there, AI and ChatGPT and Claude and coming up with content and can be so easy and learn your voice and all the things, but, like, sometimes it still doesn't feel, like, perfectly authentic. And so, like, when you want to put something out there or share stuff, like, sometimes you do still have to put your voice into it and your flair because that's the one thing AI will never have is just the heart behind the human, right? Like,
Mhm.
so, it is time consuming, but obviously, like, again, we love it and we want it to be put out there and we want to create an impact, and so a lot of our listeners are on social media, and so we wanted to have a presence there. But it takes time. Just think of the business, your business. Like, you might have a brick and mortar that you show up into every day, but, like, how do you get yourself out there in the community? You go out, you network, you meet other people, you post, you have a Google profile. Like, these are just the natural rhythms of things that you do. And our podcast is our podcast, but our podcast is still an offshoot of our business.
Totally. It definitely takes time. I think that was one of the things, like, even though you and I have a schedule, we have literally, like, reminders. But sometimes, like you said, like, it doesn't always just land to where it lands with us and, like, where we are in our season of life or whatever. We both communicated these past couple weeks. We've been really kind of more quiet on social media
Yeah.
because we were promoting our workshop weekend and which was so beautiful. And obviously that also took some time and energy and beautifully, it's all content that we've already created and we've already done, but it still takes time, right? It still takes energy, and so I would 100% agree with that, and, I still actually I love it for this, and I think one of the coolest things, and I think both you and I, for anybody again that's family, people that we are communicating about, like this truly is. I hope and pray that they hear and understand that like we're not here. Like I know I'm not here to like talk about the situation in a way that we are. Yeah, we're more or less here to like shed light and communicate how we are navigating in our own heart about it, you know. And I think that was actually one of our conversations about family. My mom actually the following day she was like, "That was so brave of you for putting that out there." And also, it was really hard to hear, you know, like, for the sake of it's just, you know, it's just reality of life. Like, she knows these things, but it's still aspects of our childhood, our family that, you know, that is just different. So, yeah, it definitely is a interesting thing because we're not just gonna be shy on, you know, like, we're gonna be very gentle and very kind and very gracious as we're talking about it. But they are things that we've navigated, you know, and that we are still navigating and processing. So,
Well, yeah, and also just, like, again, the touching on wounds of, like, exposure,
mhm,
being seen, or, like, having other people like, you don't know how other people are gonna interpret a situation that you and someone else have experienced, so only you and that person truly know how you felt in that situation, what was actually said, what was experienced, and also the history that goes into things, right? Like, we can
mhm,
talk about a situation, but that doesn't include the history or buildup that could have led into, a situation like yeah, I mean, even just for my own family, like, we talked very briefly about my mom and her side of the family, like, but there's history there. I mean, you're talking about 15, 20, even, like, 50 years in the making of some of this stuff, and you can only extract certain things at certain times, but that's, like, the hardest part too, right? Or, like, the judgment of other people and basically what you say and what you share. I mean, you and I have shared things vulnerably, and, like, I don't know who's out there judging what that situation was or judging me because of that situation, but, like, guess what? Courage to be disliked
yeah,
because someone else is equally out there being like, "Fuck, she just nailed a situation that I'm going through. I have felt that before, and this is helping me navigate this situation." Like, helping me process through my own feelings around it. So, there's always that rhythm of it when you put story out there. But what are we going to do? This is the HeartWork podcast. This is what this
yeah,
was here and made for, was because we don't have enough of these deeper rooted, vulnerable conversations in a way that also allows for emotional health and well being to flourish. Because just like you said, and I loved how you said this, it's not about gossiping, tearing down, or talking about the opinions of a situation that happened, or like being a victim in what happened to you, but just talking about what it is to emotionally process a situation to come out as a healthier human being, in the sense of not being a righteous human being of like, I
mhm,
am an emotionally more healthy being because I can, you know, psychotherapy myself through something, but just to actually try and recognize, acknowledge, and process your emotions and where they're coming from in yourself, so that again, triggers and things like that aren't as triggering as they have been in the past, that you can continue to breathe through emotions versus be stomped by them, suffocated by them, and then not show up. Not that you have to show up as your best self, but not show up fully present because of the weight of something that's happening in your life.
yeah. That's so good.
So what do we want for year two?
Mm. So I think, I mean, for me, I want more of the same. I want more of the same of what you and I just experienced like a couple weeks ago, talking
Yeah.
about how like how you and I flowed. There's just this authentic, raw, you know, like how we navigate, how we process. And I also want an audience that wants like to share what they want, you know, like
Right.
I want to be able to enrich and share content that is going to be something that people actually desired. Because I also, at the end of the day, like I could talk about something all day long, but that's not what people want. It's like, okay, well, that's just our experience. But at the same time, like we're basing it off a lot of our experience. And so um, I think you and I mean, obviously have had lots of conversation about continuing to offer in person events and offer basically a container opportunity by doing our workshop that we had really kind of solidified a lot for us in the side of we really have a thing and I think people want it. And at the end of the day, it's just allowing it to align with both you and I and the season that we're kind of coming into and where we're going within our businesses and life, and allowing that to just be nurtured and gone. But otherwise, let's freaking fucking take over the world, like
They're like, I think people want it.
sure people
Or
want
right
it.
up. Like there were so many people that didn't come in September because of a prior obligation. Because I mean, we really put it out there like 4 weeks ahead of time. Let's be real.
Mhm.
And we still have 4 teams show up, like which is so awesome. And we kind of figured out exactly that that's what we want. And so we are going to be doing events next year. FYI, get on our email list. That's where it's going to be going first. Get into our socials. That's where it's going to be coming out next. And be on the lookout because we are going to be taking in-person events and we are going to be allowing for support past that event. But it's only going to be limited to a certain number of people because we only have the capacity to get into the nitty-gritty and do the actual heart work and be able to pour into each individual person, yourself and or your team, if you do have a team to bring along with you in those situations. So we've loved that. It's coming. Be on the lookout because it is. Yeah, that was a huge wake up and a huge pull. We love this content. We love putting this out there. We will always have this podcast, but that is where people are calling us to step into.
I mean, like we said, I think the podcast is a conduit. If you want a free resource, it's a beautiful place to be able to come access it, get a free resource. And then if you're wanting more, we want to be able to provide a place where you can access that more, and have a place to where you can go deeper, build leadership, build culture within your business, especially if you feel like that's lacking. Be able to have conversations within your personal life, within your teams, because it's important, and it's literally going to transcend the way it's literally going to transcend the way your business flows, the revenue that you create, the profit that you have. It's wild. Or also, again, if profit's not there, how do you navigate it? Are you able to navigate it with heart and actually with peace and rest, or are you frazzled and you're just freaking out and you're trying to control it all and get back to it, and so big things to come. I'm so excited. I can't believe we've done it for a year, and also that we get to look forward to another year. It's incredible.
Here we go. Most businesses fail within their first year. So here we are, rocking and ready to launch as we continue to go.
Yeah. And to every single person that has supported it and really also just championed it from the very conception of the idea. Just thank you. A huge shout out to Pablo, one of both of our coach, who literally was the first one to even put a little idea into both of our hearts to be able to say, hey, you guys talk all the time. Have you guys ever thought about this?
No, literally.
Literally. So, so a huge shout out to him, and obviously Stephanie Wigner, all of our family, all of our friends, my amazing husband, your amazing husband, for just the ability to not only stand with us. My husband obviously edits and produces this podcast and does all that. So it's just a huge thank you to all the people that have been alongside us and supported it. And
Even
we'll only continue.
And Priscilla for helping us.
Oh my gosh.
To life. Oh my gosh, when we started and all the support they continue to share with us. It's just, it's just been a lot of fun. And I think one of the things we've really seen through this is just how much support and love there is out there.
Absolutely.
Here's to you too.
Yeah, here's to you too. Let's do it. So thank you for joining us on another episode of the HeartWork podcast. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to lead with heart in your business and life.
If you enjoyed this, subscribe so you never miss a release, rate our show, leave us a review, get on our VIP email list, and join our exclusive Facebook group, The HeartWork Life, to plug into our community and learn from us and other heart-led entrepreneurs on a weekly basis.
We look forward to chatting with you next time.
Bye!